Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is the Bequest collecting the 4-issue series published by AfterShock Comics. The comics written by Tim Seeley, Freddie E. Williams II is the artist, Jeremy Colwell is the colorist, and Marshall Dillon is the letterer. Alright, so this story is kind of an interesting blend of fantasy and we'll call reality. The concept is that there's kind of a breach between the fantasy world and the real world, and weapons are being moved between the two of them. Magical weapons are coming over into the real world, and then, real weapons are heading to the fantasy world. The question is, who's behind this? Why are they behind this? What are the implications? Concept's really, really cool. Involves kind of like a screw-up party of adventurers coming over into the real world in Chicago, having to try to figure all this out. As I said, concept is great. The execution, on the other hand, falls a little short. It just goes off on these really odd tangents, throwing in more and more, I would say, conspiracies towards it all, and making it just really not work. I mean, if the comic kept it really simple of just, evil person grabbing guns to take it into the fantasy world, and how does the fantasy world deal with bullets, and then you kind of do the flip side at some point of how do you deal with magic in the real world, comic would have been totally fine. But instead we get Nazis and anti-government stuff, and it's just this weird spiral that feels like it gets off the path that it originated. Keep it simple, keep an escalation of weapons on either side. You have a really, really interesting story. Think about any of gang movies or books or whatever out, television series, whatever out there. You could do something really interesting if you threw in magic into that. But instead, again, this just goes off in these weird tangents. It's just one where you're like, why is there neo-Nazis in this? Why is this a thing? It feels like it doesn't need to be added at all. It feels like it brings nothing to the comic, and if anything, it distracts from the underlying great concept within. Which is a shame, because the concept is really, really solid. It just doesn't work. There's a lot of stuff to enjoy. The actual adventurers are interesting. They feel kind of screw up. There feels like there's some throwbacks to some other other type fantasy stuff that's interesting. But they get distracted. The story and the focus gets distracted by these again, evil Nazis, and it's too much, and 4 issues is not enough to really pull that off. I think there might have been something in the long run of focus on guns in the fantasy world, and then do a second volume where the quest team, whatever, adventuring party, has to then come back to the real world, who then has to deal with the magic items, which are in the hands of Nazis. That would work totally well. Instead, it never quite feels like it really gets to this point of, this fantasy character getting guns to try to, overthrow the fantasy world. It never really nails that part down. It gets distracted by Nazis. There are a lot of cool extras. I gotta give the trade that. The comic itself had some great stuff. We get RPG stats for the characters themselves, which is great. We get a lot of sketches of the characters in pencil. Again, great. So that's really cool. For me, this is one that's really for the hardcore fantasy fans, or someone that likes that concept, but I just don't think it nails what it wants to do, and definitely needed someone on the outside to sit there and just say, focus, 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 focus. Out now, you can get this in comic shops. Again, interesting concept. Yeah. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code to all comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We do have some links. There'll be affiliate links where you can purchase your own copy. By doing that, you help support our site, so thank you. And speaking of support, I want to thank AfterShock for hooking us up with the review copy. And of course, thank you all for watching. If you're into comics, if you're into AfterShock, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games. you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.